Welcome to our Spain. Hi, Gaetano. How's it going?
It's going great, Tanya. How are you doing?
Great. Wonderful. Do you have an our Spain for us today?
So yes, I have an
No, is
Spain.
that a good one?
It's a good one.
Okay, good.
I mean, I don't know about you, but what makes it is that I've lived here. This is going into my third winter, and I'm still learning, keeping my mind active.
I like
I don't
that
know about
because
you.
that's the benefit of living somewhere you've never lived is that there's always something new around the corner, I feel like. Sometimes you don't
Exactly.
want that new thing around the corner and you're
Right.
like, why can't I find this thing? But often it's like, oh my gosh, it's like a fresh, yeah, I love it. So what happened to you?
So I was at the I went to the Central Market in Rusafa
Hmm.
yesterday because my daughter was at Silks. So I was like, I have an hour to kill. So I thought I'd pop in there, and the fruit stand had these green oranges, like avocado green, like dark
Okay.
green, like they looked like round avocados,
They look like
basically,
they look like the oranges before they've ripened, basically.
but like even more of a darker army
Mm-hmm.
green, like a dark, like almost like a blackish green, right?
Nice.
Not
Okay.
not that bright Kelly green, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And it said chocolate oranges.
What?
Yeah,
Now I know
so
what a
they're
chocolate orange is in England, but I don't know if that's what they were selling there.
theirs are not chocolate covered oranges. No, it is a special breed of orange that is sweeter,
Hmm.
not tart at all. And they
Okay.
said there was notes of chocolate. So I was suckered in and buying four,
Of
came home and
course.
ate them. And they were delicious. They were seedless. They bursted in your mouth with flavor. So then I had to do a little saddle around Google to find out more information on these things. And it turns out they were like discovered in Valencia as like some weird cross pollination hybrid oddity thing in like 2006, according to Google.
Okay.
No, actually, that was according to Wikipedia. So even more vetting than just Google.
Totally. So they were a ripe fruit, even though they looked like a fruit that
Completely
hadn't
right.
ripened yet. That's
Yeah.
fascinating. And they tasted still like, was there a hint of chocolate? Everybody wants to
I
know.
didn't taste them, but my sinuses have been bad the last 2 days.
Oh,
But I
okay.
will tell you, they were so sweet and juicy, and they were hard, but the rind peeled off meticulously.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
Usually when a hard orange, you're like, I'm never going to eat that because it's going to be forever to
I don't
peel
like
it.
peeling oranges. I will peel a clementine and eat them, but I am not a peel an orange person. I don't like for that whole
Right.
reason. And it's too much
Gets under
white
your
stuff.
fingernails.
Yeah, and it's too much white stuff that gets left there. And then I don't like eating that. So now I've got to spend 5 hours peeling the white stuff. So I don't ever do that. I chop them up and either chop them into pieces I can eat or
Hmm.
just flat out squeeze them, one or the other.
Well, I'm going to tell you, if you run across these at one of your markets or
Mm-hmm.
co-ops, grab
Grab
one
one.
and then peel it. I did slice it in half to get the peel, and then it
Okay.
just came off like
Good
magic,
advice.
and it
Yeah.
burst into your mouth. And now we're hooked. And it's like a short season; they're only out for like a couple months,
Okay. So we have to go
and
look
and
now.
it's Valencia only.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. And
yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that was an orange inside, right? Like you were saying, it's definitely an avocado. It's a round avocado or some other
Right.
strange thing.
And,
That's so
and
fun.
you're like, this is never going to ripen in my lifetime.
Right. I love that you found that. Well, I mean, this week, so today we're going to do listener questions. So I love that this was kind of coincides with your Spain in the sense that it's like something new. And so we got a bunch of different questions that we're going to answer that hopefully give some people some the answers to their questions, but also some new information of different things that we haven't talked about.
And what's exciting is we've got people paying attention to us, and
That's
they have
also
questions
nice.
for us.
I love
After
that. Yeah, we're at a point where we can gather listener questions, tap on our backs.
exactly, we've been 6 months at this and growing strong. I love it.
Exactly. I love it. Do you want to start with the first one?
So our first one is from Simon from Iowa. Hello, Iowa. Love that.
Oh, yeah. I got some friends from Iowa. I think yeah, that goes back to my non-football days of like, they're I guess everyone in America is serious about their football, but those
Not me.
Iowans, not
So,
me. Yeah.
not me.
It makes me think of football anyway.
So Simon's question is: would you recommend Valencia, or would you move to another city now you know Spain better?
That's interesting. For me, we talked a little bit about this after the summer trip that you took. And for
Hmm.
us, I mean, for me personally, I can't say for the rest of my family, I'm very happy with Valencia because of the size of the city, the location, the proximity to the sea, the mountains. It's all things that it is exactly what I thought it would be. And it
Mm-hmm.
reminds me very much myself of my time in LA when I had access to all of those things, but with, in my opinion, nicer water because I'm not a surfer. So nicer,
Mm-hmm.
calmer, bath like water and all of
Right.
that. So and I like how we don't live in the city, as everybody probably knows, and but we have, it's easy to get in and out of because of the size of it. So we have access to everything in the city quite easily without having to live in the city. And I think that would be very hard and much more complicated in a bigger city.
So yes, I agree. I love Valencia. I'm glad we're here. This is exactly what I wanted it to be for me
Mm-hmm.
raising my kids. But I would give a caveat that after our summer trip, moving to Sevilla, like I'm not in love with the weather in Valencia. It's too hot and humid in the summer and too cold and humid in the winter. And but I love the city. So it's not a
Mm-hmm.
move away situation. But if you haven't if you haven't sent the container overseas, my suggestion would be look at the climate as a whole where you're moving. Because I didn't look at the humidity levels of Valencia when I was sitting on the couch for a year on my phone checking the
Mm-hmm.
weather and comparing it to where I was in LA. I'm like, oh, it's the same temperature. And it does, and I've mentioned it before, it feels different. The sun's not on your face in the city, so you're not
Yeah.
getting as warm. And maybe you have a different experience outside the city where the buildings aren't so tall. So that for me is kind of a miss, but not for me to move. But I will say all the things you mentioned about Valencia, I love for raising a family.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I was single moving here, I don't know if this would be the place for me because it's got culture, but it doesn't have the museums and the concerts that Madrid and Barcelona get, right?
Right.
So I think for a very family orientated city, it's perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're single and out and about or a retired couple. I mean, I think it's about what your lifestyle
Yeah,
is
what
or
do you like to do, right? And I think to your
mhm,
point earlier, I mean, you're living in, we go to the beach a lot because of where we live, because we live outside of the city. We can get to the beach very easily. We can get to multiple beaches. We can go park there because we have a car. So we spend a
mhm,
lot of time at the beach, and therefore living here, it makes sense to be in this part of Spain to have access to the beach. You're living close to the beach and you never go because you're living in the
right.
city. So you're not getting the advantage of one whole section of what I love about living here, which
Right.
is that. So that's something to consider when you're living in the city, especially if you have kids. If you're single, you can probably spend 45 minutes or an hour sitting on a bus and getting to the beach and back again, right?
Right.
And for us, we moved from Washington, D.C. It is way hotter in the summer and more humid and way colder in the winter. So when we looked at the weather here, it was like, oh, that looks nice because it was all better. But like you
Right.
said, not quite to the standards of LA when I lived there, which were, I really didn't need a heater in the winter and I really didn't need air conditioning in the summer. It's not like that here. It is
Right.
hotter and colder for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so where you go like to Sevilla where there's no humidity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and then up north it's cooler. So I think it's about really look at what you like and what you're going to be happiest in,
Right, because it
right?
gets cooler up north, but it also rains more. That's why it's beautiful
Right.
and green. So, yes, and some people, I mean, a lot of people are loving that type of thing. Where are you coming from? What is it you're looking for? Are you used to rain? Like I've heard people compare the northern part of Spain, San Sebastian and this kind of areas to be a little bit more like Seattle, for instance. I mean, you've
Mhm.
got more rain. You have to be able to manage rain. If you get down south into like Malaga, you have very hot weather. So,
Mhm.
it's beautiful in a picture because it's sunny blue skies and beautiful blue water, but then you're
Right.
sweating like all day.
Right.
So, you must have air conditioning or you will probably not enjoy that very much. So, just know yourself, right? You have to know yourself a little bit and know what kind of weather is good for you, I think. But because all these different parts of Spain are gorgeous and like great places to live.
So the other thing I would add to that, though, besides the weather and the cultural aspects, right? Because there is culture here, and
Hmm.
there's culture in all these cities. It's how much do you want to have access to it, especially if you don't
Right.
speak Spanish, right? Like here, you're getting a lot of Spanish concerts, not but Adele's not coming to Valencia, and she's probably not going to you know
Right.
Malaga,
We are, yeah, we
but
are a smaller city, so a lot of those, but again, depending on your lifestyle, you can take a train to Madrid if you only want to do it once a month or something. But yeah.
right. And also, I would say, also look at the airport because if moving to Europe is also a plan to increase your travel and seeing the
That's a good
world,
point. Yeah.
make sure the city you're in has access to the places you want to go to.
Right.
So like Valencia has a great airport. You can get to most major European cities from here. Alicante has a great airport, but Sevilla, smaller, doesn't go as many places, right? So those are the things that you have to look at, like how quickly do you want to get to other places.
Yeah, that's really good advice. All right, number 2 from Lisa Reagan. How long did it take you to stop eating dinner at 6 and start eating at 10 like a Spaniard? We haven't, for the most part, I will say.
Well, we have.
Yeah. So this is another maybe city outside of the city thing. I mean, we're much more eating at home and doing our own thing, and we also have a kid. I think whether or not you have kids will be a major part of the answer to this question. And you have older kids.
Having kids and how much you want to cook for yourself, right? So we eat dinner late, not to my liking during the school week, because my oldest is in ballet conservatory, so she doesn't get home until 8:30.
So this isn't even a Spanish thing. This is just she's doing something that gets her home late, which could have happened anywhere, really, I suppose.
And it does, and because she goes straight from school to conservatory, it's not like we could have dinner before she went to her evening class. It's like it's got to be after. So on the weekends, we have pretty much adopted the Spanish lifestyle on the weekends, because the lunchtime is our larger meal on Saturdays and Sundays. Like if I cook around 3 or 4, we'll have a big meal then, and then nighttime will be more of a snackier dinner, like a tapasy kind of leftovers, whatever kind of thing. But I will say, last night I had this great idea of making food. And it was 7. I was like, oh, I need one ingredient. I went to the store and then I cooked it. And the kids were like, when's dinner? I'm like, we're Spaniards. We live in Spain. It's coming at 10:30.
That's early. I will say we don't really much to my husband's disapproval, because being Moroccan, he would love to eat as well at like 11 o'clock at night. So, but if it happens and we're over at someone's, I fully accept it now as a thing that is always potentially going to happen at any moment. So that I've adjusted to, but by desire, I would rather eat earlier, for sure. Still,
because they have homework and stuff, right? So again, this goes to the previous question. If you're alone or a retired couple, I think you acclimate differently. I will say that when we have friends visit, is when I realized I am a Spaniard, because they're so frustrated and they want to eat at 6:30, 7:30. They're like, why isn't any place open? And I'm like, because it's not 8:30. Like, that's when you eat.
So we might have adjusted and not even known it.
Yes. Because, at home I might want to eat earlier, but going out, it's not in my repertoire at all to be hungry at 6. My body's just not hungry at 6 anymore.
Right.
Like, it's
yeah, no, that's so
true.
It is. And if we go over to a friend's house and we're invited, I don't care what time we're invited over. I'm not ever expecting a meal to be coming promptly after that time. I mean, it'll be whenever later. And that is also, I like that now. I mean, that's totally fine. But that's also because you're, like you said, if you don't have kids, that's how your whole life can be. But if your kids have to get up in the morning and go to school and and one thing leads to another, for me, I take sleep very seriously. So I really want to make sure that everyone's getting enough sleep, which means we can't be eating at 11 o'clock at night and go to school in the morning.
And I don't know how, that's one aspect. I don't know how Spaniards do it and the kids do it, because you can go out on a Tuesday at 11:30 and there's like a 10-year-old eating dinner with their family. And I'm like, but you have school.
Yeah. Maybe they were still getting siestas in the afternoon. I don't know.
Or I guess they got their homework done. I don't know. I'm like, no, we're in pajama mode. It's bedtime.
Right, and we're coming up to exams now, so it's like we're spending a lot of time in the evening. We have to really plan when dinner is, because can we get physics in and then dinner and then history, or do we do physics and history and then dinner? So it's like we have to plan, or else it's not getting done.
Right.
So many things. So those things don't change. I mean, and like I said, we live out. We don't go out that much for meals, so we're cooking for ourselves, and we just eat whenever we want.
Okay, so question number 3 is from Neil. He's from London, and he asks, do you have any advice that you would have found useful before you moved? I guess this is more for you in a way, since you are from England, even though you didn't move here from England. Maybe there's something you can address that is different from England to here?
I actually think this one might be more for you, because I've moved so many times and I've moved countries before that honestly it wasn't a big difference. I thought it would be a big difference, but it wasn't actually. So I think advice for myself personally would be like, don't worry about it. Like it all does come together. It's all good. And the only, I don't think I thought, I really didn't think that much about the language barrier, but I think overall for me, it was very much like the other moves that I had done, except having kids does make moving and making it makes moving a little harder, but it makes making friends easier. So once you've moved, having kids is a bonus, I think, if you're moving somewhere where you don't know anybody.
I guess what I would say is that, now that I think about it, is I had all these plans before we
Mm-hmm.
moved and how things were going to work
Did
out.
God laugh?
And there is that, yeah, God laughed. And so, I mean, my advice would be, which is just life advice, be prepared for nothing to work out the way that you thought it would and persevere and keep moving forward. So there's been issues with how I talked about this before about citizenship stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's taking a lot longer. So now I've had to re-navigate stuff that I wouldn't have thought about. So I don't know if I could really go back in time with that and tell
Right.
myself
You
something
certainly wouldn't have
differently.
wanted to know that, I don't think. Like, I think it's
No,
better that you
no.
came over with a little bit of ignorance is bliss in that regard, because
Right.
you probably would have
Yes.
been like, oh, do I want to do it if I knew that?
Right. And things change,
Right.
right?
Things change.
Elections happen around the world and they can change
Mm-hmm.
everyone's whatever your plan is.
And
So
we came
that's
during
definitely.
COVID, and so we also, I have to say, for us personally,
No, you didn't come during COVID. You came and then COVID
yes,
happened.
like literally 2 minutes later. So I would say for us, we kind of came knowing that the plans might be all pear shaped in a month. So that was maybe
Mm.
something that might have been good. But overall, the idea of, I mean, I moved to America when I was in my 20s. I've moved around America. So I've moved a lot, and I've moved to places where I didn't know anyone, much like we did here. And I'm going to
Hmm.
imagine there's probably a lot of people that are thinking of moving to Spain and don't have a network here of friends, and you find
Hmm.
them. So that's, I don't think, a problem. I didn't really overthink that one. And maybe I should have thought, maybe I should have thought about more things. I didn't. I was stressing about logistics and schools and, these things. And that stuff works
Right,
out. I
right.
mean, I mean, you will find a place to live. You will find a place for your kids to go to school. I mean, it works out one way or another.
It does work out. Because the thing is, it works out because it has to,
Right.
right? It's not like it's. I mean, and we're not inventing the wheel. You're not inventing the wheel when you move.
Hmm.
People have been moving across the globe since we got on our
Right.
feet, right? So
That's
you
true.
get school. If you have to find a job, you'll find one somehow. If you have
Yeah.
to, like, you'll just make it work. We all have to sink or swim in life,
Right.
so
That's
it's
true.
now it's just harder if you don't know the language. So I guess one thing I would say is maybe when I was sitting on the couch reflecting about all of this move and what I'm doing, maybe opened up the Duolingo app a little bit more because I wish I would have known a little bit more Spanish before I got here. That would
Right.
have been
Yeah, that would have been helpful. And I will say everything is available here. So you think, sometimes I think in your brain, there's some part of your brain that's like, I'm moving to the moon and there's nothing there. So I have to plan everything. Everything's available here. You just have to find it. So if
right,
whatever it is that you need to fix whatever it is you need doing, whether it's help with, there are companies that help people move, there's companies that do this, there's still plumbers and everybody to fix things, there's still people that will help you find school for your kids if you need it. So just like, it's all here, you just have to go find it, and that obviously
right.
takes a lot more time if you're coming from a place where you have all of that. So I think the advice would just be like, chill. It's all going to be
Chill,
fine.
chill. It will be fine.
maybe maybe that's the best, which I wouldn't have done if someone had told me that. I read, no, I'm going to stress out, leave me alone.
Right.
I do this very well. Okay, question 4. Should we move on to that? Yeah,
Yeah.
Kate from Singapore. We have a family of 4 with a cat and 2 large dogs. Sounding a bit like us right now.
Right.
You'll have more cats when you move here. What are the options to get from Madrid to Sagunto? And Sagunto is north of Valencia here, for anybody that
Right. Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
know. And oh boy, well, this is a
We
fun
did
one.
touch on this. We had a couple episodes about moving here and how we got here, and then the pets episode. So we kind of touch on this,
Yeah,
but not this specific.
not this specific.
So
And yeah, I mean, I'll say, if you go back to our moving here, you came with 2 cats. We didn't have any animals at that point, but we had a lot of luggage, and we did just fly into Valencia. We flew in through Portugal, ended up in Valencia, and we rented a gigantic 9-person van for all of our stuff for one day, and then got all our
Hmm.
stuff to where we were going, and then came back to the airport and exchanged it for a small car. So we just
And there's rental car places right at the airport. I mean, that
at
was
the airport.
easy
That
at
was
the
super
airport.
easy. Yeah, that was absolutely fine. And we knew we needed a big car to move our stuff, but we didn't want a big car permanently. So we just rented it for a day and then came back and exchanged it for another rental.
Gotcha,
So that's
gotcha. Well,
doable if
going,
you want to drive. Yeah.
yeah, it's totally doable. But I think, if they're coming to Madrid and all that, they probably have a hindrance of doing a connecting flight to Valencia because it's smaller planes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they might not have been able to find a reservation to take all of
That's
that.
a
I mean,
lot
I know
of
that's a
animals.
lot of pets
Now,
and
I remember
people
when we
and
were
things.
talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, when we were talking about trains, you're limited by adult and an animal ratio, correct?
Exactly. Well, not even. I mean, maybe with the dogs, with the cats, because it was just us, and I had 2 kids, and they were each allowed to carry a cat, so
Okay.
that wasn't an issue. But if they have large dogs, that's going to be an issue because they're not in pet carriers, right? So I think
Right.
you would have to have an adult to restrain that,
Mm-hmm.
or to keep them on leash or whatever. And I will say that your option would only be to go to Valencia because you can't get them on the commuter train to Sagunto, nor would you want to navigate the luggage and deal with all
No.
that. So you're still dealing with a cab once you get to Valencia. What some people do, and might be the better option, is just hire a car and driver with like a big Mercedes van
Mm-hmm.
to bring you all the luggage and everyone straight from Madrid to your house in Sagunto. That would be like the most headache free, I would think,
That would
moment if
definitely
you're
be the least headache. Yeah. And I would say that's probably a 3.5 hour, 4 hour drive, maybe. How long would that be?
probably four. I
4?
think. I think it's like
Yeah.
about 4 once you get to Sagunto. So
Yeah.
I think that'd be worth it. I can't imagine it being more than a couple €100. But if you're paying for extra train tickets with the dog fees, it might come around the same
Yeah. I was
price.
going to say,
So
once you've got all
it's
those people on a plane with all the animals, that's going to add up, isn't it? Yeah.
right. And then the trains, depending if you have a ton of suitcases, they charge you for extra luggage after a certain amount too. So
Right.
your tickets, you might end up spending €200 just to get from Madrid to Valencia, and then you still have to get from
Yeah.
Valencia to Sagunto.
So always an option to hire someone to drive you. And they
Hmm.
will obviously have a variety of sizes of vehicles to use. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the best advice you have.
I mean, coming from Singapore, I don't know if you want to rent a truck. That's a long flight, and you're going to be so jet lagged. I mean,
Oh my
you don't want
goodness.
to do that
Who
drive.
knows, right? They yeah, you've been on a plane
Not
for
at my age. Maybe when I was 25, I would do that. Not at 53. I'm not doing that at
no.
53.
That's also like, what are you willing to do, right? I mean, there are ways that you could take another plane, you could take a train, and then rent a car, and it's like, what are you actually up for, right?
Right.
So also think about that. You might have variable options, but there may only be one that's really, really feasible. And
Right. I mean, sanity is the thing to keep.
sanity,
You don't want to lose your sanity for
sanity
good,
is important. Oh my goodness. And I think this might be our last one.
I think
Yep.
so. So number 5, this is Susan from England, another English person. We are stressing about the language barrier, worrying it will be a huge challenge. It's a big factor now whether or not to move. How big of a problem is it really if you don't speak any Spanish?
I do think it depends on where you're going in Spain, for sure.
Hmm.
Don't you think?
If you're moving to some small village in the mountains somewhere,
Huge.
it's going to be a huge problem.
On the flip side, you might pick up the language very quickly.
There is that too. Yes.
I think and you're in the city, I think even in Valencia, you can manage, I think. I mean, it also depends on your personality. Are you,
I think that's a
yeah,
huge,
are
yeah.
you happy to not be learning Spanish and being fluent and just, having people help you in English?
I mean, I've heard people complain about the language barrier in Valencia, and I have not found any language barrier. But I'm an outgoing person, and I smile and I try to use as much Spanish
Hmm.
as I can, and then I bring out what's that
Google
the
Translate.
translate
Yeah.
app, yeah, the Google Translate. And I've befriended as a couple Spanish
Hmm.
people that like I'm like, can you call this number for me? So like, there's things I don't like to have to do that, but I'm not ashamed to do it either.
Right.
So
That helps.
I haven't and I've only come across a couple rude people in that situation. Like I went to a notary place, and the guy was very rude about not wanting to speak to me
Oh,
at all. And I was
okay.
like, but and he was like the expensive place. I was like, but you want to charge this premium? Like, you don't need to be rude to me about it. You could
Right?
just say I don't understand English at all. And he was very rude, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
but that's a personal issue, not so much blanket. But yeah, small town, you're going to be lost. And
Yeah.
the larger the city, right? Madrid, no language barrier. Malaga, probably no
Right.
language
I
barrier,
think
right?
anywhere south, you're going to come across not only that everyone's speaking, there's more foreigners with jobs down there that speak in
Mm-hmm.
English as their probably their first, second language, you know, and then they've learned Spanish after that. So there's just so many people that speak English the further south you go.
And it's so tourist
And it's
heavy
so
down there.
tourist
So
heavy too.
you're not
Yeah.
going to get a job if you don't speak two or three
That's
languages, right?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. And then up in, I mean, living outside of Valencia, no one's really speaking English, I will say. And so
mm-hmm.
when we go into the city, it's like, oh wow. I mean, I can see a big difference in the ability to do things in English. Even though I'm like you, I'm trying in Spanish, and then if somebody knows, obviously they know immediately that I'm not Spanish and I'm speaking in English, that I speak English. They just start speaking English to me, and I'm like, no, I want to
Right.
practice my Spanish, but you literally sometimes can't in the city.
Right. It was very cute. I'm going to tell a little side note here on this
Hmm.
to make people feel better. I have to get a lamp rewired because the American wire finally kerplunked, and I'm like, let's just get it rewired. So I went to the lamp store, and I was like, do you speak English? And he was like, very little. And so I tried to speak in Spanish, and he refused to speak his little English to me, but it was like in a
Hmm.
joyful learning lesson way. And he's like, let's see what you
Right,
can do. And
exactly.
it was so cute. And then I'm like, well, I want to do this. And I was using my broken
Hmm.
English Spanish stuff. And he was smiling, and he was like, see, you can do it. And I was like, oh,
Oh.
oh my God. Okay, Dad. I mean, this was.
But I love that. And I do think I've had so many times a Spanish person be like, I don't really speak English, sorry. And then we get into a subject that I can't really manage in Spanish or something, and they pop out like perfect English. And I'm like, you're just explaining like how rocket ships work, and you're telling me that you don't speak English, which is fine. I'm not expecting you to, but often they, people do. But I definitely outside the city, I would say if you're really concerned because you know it's going to be a personal stress for you that you can't speak Spanish, I would move to a part of Spain where English is more prominent and not put yourself in the position
Right.
of being like where we live outside of the city, where you really are quite often not able to be helped in English. And then you will be leaning on friends more and things, and that might make you feel uncomfortable. But there's loads of places in Spain you can live and take your time learning, because we've talked about this before. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm happy that my Spanish has improved a lot, but it's nowhere near where I thought it would be after 5 years. So it does take a
Right.
lot longer to learn than you think it does, because you're not as immersed as you think generally.
Well, especially as we're raising
Hmm.
families, right? So we're completely immersed in our families still that are speaking
Yeah.
English. So if we were here alone, we could go out and immerse ourselves and try to meet only Spaniards
Right.
and bumble around. But it's like dinner, I'm still
Hmm.
yelling down the hall in English, time for
But I
school.
think you would
You know
have
what
a
I
hard
mean?
time now going out in the city and only finding Spanish people to communicate,
Yeah,
to have, to be
true.
friends with. I think you would immediately have friends from all over, because it's very cosmopolitan here, and all those people from the other parts of Europe, they all speak English. So
Right.
you would find yourself, I found myself quite often with a group of people from multiple countries, and English being the common language, even though we're in Spain.
Right.
And that has
Right.
not happened just once. So English, it sometimes it makes it harder to learn Spanish because your language is English. If your language was
Right.
German or something, you would find it much easier to learn Spanish, because no one's speaking to you probably in German here. I mean, maybe in the
Well, we don't
city,
know that. We're
that's
not
true.
German,
But I mean,
right?
English is definitely,
You buy a purple
yeah,
car, and then suddenly you see purple cars on the road
right.
everywhere, right?
German might be a bad example. Let's say Chinese. I mean, something where
Chinese.
you pretty much know most people aren't speaking that as a language that they learned in school. So that's also it actually makes it harder. I mean, not poor us or anything, but it does actually make it harder
Right.
to learn Spanish when English is your language, because a lot of people will help you in English.
True. But I will add that but without kids,
also,
you have the opportunity
sure.
to immerse yourself in Spanish classes and all those
For
kinds
sure.
of things,
Yeah.
right? Like, because I don't have the time to take the Spanish, like, I know, take a 20-hour-a-week Spanish class for a year. I don't have the time to do that. So unfortunately, I can't commit the time that I'd like to, because
but to your point
people wanna be
earlier,
fed.
you need to be a bit outgoing, or you will actually never learn Spanish for sure. So know yourself and know your level of what you're willing to do to learn Spanish. And if you're willing to get out there and learn and take classes and practice and sound like an idiot, you will learn Spanish, and it won't be a problem.
Exactly. And I think I've said this before. I found myself speaking in the past tense, and I couldn't tell you how to do the past tense. Like, I had heard it, and I was like, oh my God, I just spoke in the past tense.
You learned a phrase.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to conjugate anything yet. So I'm just like, oh, that happened. I know the present tense. That's all I know.
And you know phrases, apparently. So you did manage. Yeah, you've learned some things along the way. Yeah, definitely easier in the cities. I would say if you're worried about Spanish, move to a city or move south.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
For sure.
But you'll be fine no matter what. Sink or swim, like I said
there you
earlier,
go.
Right?
Is that the name of this episode? Sink or swim.
Maybe we should have T-shirts on our merch page that say, Spain, sink or swim.
I love it. Well,
I think we should.
Well, that was our last question. Please do send in more questions through through our social media, through our website, any old which way you want to send us, because I'm sure we will do this again. We want to help everybody that's trying to do this crazy thing that we did.
Well, Tanya, I think that's our episode. Until next time.
Bye.
Hey, can't get enough of us? Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Spain Podcast.
And on our website, ourspain.com, which we will be updating with exciting new things as we grow.
We would love for you to message us with any topics you would like to hear about.
See you next time.
Bye.